Hello, and welcome to this episode of Hammering Down. I'm my host, Kaylor Hodges, and I'm hoping you're having a great day. This is going to be another two-part episode where if you're someone who watches on YouTube, they will actually be two separate episodes. If you're a podcast listener, they are all going to be one long video. So the first part of this is going to be listening to the post-game press conference from Legion's 1-0 win over Sacramento Republic. And then the second half is going to be the film study. The reason we're doing it this way is because the film study is going to be kind of led by what Briggs said. So if you want full context to this film study, I recommend watching the post-game presser. And if you want to get a further explanation on the post-game presser, watch the film study. So let's go ahead and get into this. First up, let's go over to the post-game presser. I'm going to try to do what I do as always. I try to fill in the gaps, the stuff that maybe you couldn't hear. And let's go get into it.
Yeah, for me, look, it's not about me playing the former club. It's like about the guys and how they performed. And they kept going and going and going until the very last minute. And the opportunity comes in the last second, and I just thought Enzo played Preston. Preston was so mature with his decision, played the ball into Tyler, and Tyler crosses it, and Sebastian puts it away. And the final moment of the game, like for where we've been, the results we've been on, it was kind of like a perfect moment. But I'm so pleased for the guys because they deserve that tonight. We were the better team. They deserve that.
So I want to just kind of jump in immediately here where when we break down this play in a little bit, he mentions Preston made a very mature decision. I think he's the reason this goal was scored. Obviously, the Thiago Suarez header away is important. The play out to Enzo is important. Enzo's pass to Preston is important. Preston's pass to Pasher, I want to circle that one, but Pasher's crossover to Seba and obviously Seba's finish, like those are all important. But I'm telling you that the goal does not happen without Preston making the decision that he does, and we'll break that down in a minute. You'll be very impressed with Preston.
Kind of speaking on Sebastian, going into that moment, he was having a rough night, not able to keep his footing. The ball slips out of his hands on a throw. I was prepared to ask you, how do you pick a guy like that up? How do you talk to him? Say, yes, the goal was amazing. What about the rest of it?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
From a mentality standpoint, Sebastian stayed in the game. He could cave. When you trip over the ball, when you give the ball away, and he made a couple of bad decisions the few minutes he got onto the field, it shows how mentally strong he is, because you could cave in a moment like that, not want the ball, not make the runs you're supposed to, but he didn't. So he deserves an awful lot of credit, and that's why the piece between your ears is the most important thing for any player. But I'm proud of Sebastian tonight because he did make a few mistakes, but he put himself in a position to win us the game.
Yeah, and to kind of expand on Mark's point, so when I asked the question of, Sebastian Tregarthen had a bad night. Let's not get twisted. His 45 was not very good. And I asked Sebastian about it. Like, you didn't have the best of nights. How did you pick yourself up? How did you keep going? How did you stay in the moment? And Briggs said, it's the maturity there. There is the mentality was there. He didn't give up. And the reason he didn't give up, Sebastian said it himself, that every time that he would make a mistake, his teammates would pick him up and say, keep on, do it again, one more time, keep going, you got it, one more time, the next play, the next play, the next play. And I think that it shows the mentality that this whole team had to take on. Because you could have had someone yelling at him, just being like, get it together. You got to get it together. And you just, kind of throw him under the bus because, he's having to come in, and Briggs had a massive show of faith in bringing him on over Centeno straight away. Whenever Seba came in, he came in as a right wing back, where he came in for Turnbull. Technically, Moses came off because he should have been sent off for a second yellow. And so Turnbull goes over to the left-hand side. Instead of Centeno, who's been the normal right wing back lately, he brings on Tregarthen. That's a massive show in faith. And he trips over a ball. He mispossesses several passes. He doesn't make the run he's supposed to run. He doesn't connect with a single tackle in the night. He had a rough night at right wing back, but the mentality, and it's not just the mentality of Tregarthen, it's the mentality of the team to pick him up and say, this is a young guy who's having a bad night. He's clearly frustrated. And when he had the throw in that just slips out of his hands, he said he wiped off his hand, dried him off, so it wouldn't happen. It happened anyway. I mean, he goes full face, hands in the face, mad at himself, and he picks himself up anyway. It's impressive for a young player, of course, to be able to do that. What's more impressive is the team picking him up afterward.
What does that mean?
Huge.
So the question is, what does it mean to get your first home win at Protective Stadium as the Legion coach?
It was huge. I think you saw my reaction. Obviously, there's a lot of emotions from former club and blah, 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 but it was also the emotions of here, we want to make this club successful. We want to take this club to places that they haven't been. And you put so much pressure on yourself in those moments to get results. But you have to understand there's a process, and the process is currently taking place, and the process is currently moving in the direction we want it to move. But just proud of the players tonight, but also the fans. There was an atmosphere tonight in that stadium. There was an atmosphere. The fans stepped up. I went like that to the fans. Come on, guys, we need you. Get behind us. And all of a sudden, there's some energy. There's an extra energy. So the fans helped us get that moment. Because if the fans don't get behind us and create that little bit of noise, do we have that extra burst? Do we have that extra bit of energy to score the goal in the last minute? So that's why it's about everyone. It's about everyone pulling together. It's about everyone pulling in a direction. And then you can achieve special things.
Yeah, and when we talked to Fanuel Kavita, by the way, before this, he had said that that Wednesday night was the loudest he had ever heard Protective Stadium that wasn't a playoff or Open Cup match, right? Let's think about those playoff matches. 10K, the Open Cup matches, 14,000, 17,000, almost 18,000. He said that's the loudest he had ever heard it since those matches. That's important. And I think what you're going to notice is that this team does need the fans, right? And it's really easy to get down and say, I'm not spending a dime here. It's boring, or this team doesn't win. I'm not going to support a loser. But it's a cyclical nature of it, right? Of the team doesn't have energy to win if there aren't fans to give them energy, but the fans don't want to give energy if the players aren't winning. And I understand both sides. I completely do. But you see how much having that fan interaction means. It was an unbelievable atmosphere. I think there was maybe about 2,000 people there. And you say that's not very good. Well, go back to the bank, and that's a great feeling, right? I told Trey, who's the comms guy at Birmingham, and I told Timothy, who's at Birmingham Sports, I was like, if we're at BBVA, this atmosphere is incredible. We're looking at a half full, maybe 3/4 of the way full stadium going absolutely bonkers. I think that you'd be very impressed on what it sounded like on the field. I don't know what it felt like to everybody else, but it was magical on the field. And those are the kind of moments that can catapult a season. You got to keep that wave going, because I think you see what's coming with this team.
So the past few post-game press conferences we've had with you, we're usually asking you about pretty slow starts to games. Today was the complete opposite, and same as Louisville. The first half hour, the team was actually really good. What do you think is switching that?
I think it's something that we speak about. I think the guys are learning that they have to be focused on the details. And what I mean by the details is they have to understand their role in every single scenario. I thought tonight from throw-ins, our structure was excellent. From the kickoff, our structure was excellent. You know, from free kicks, our structure was good. These are the little details that allow you to have the platform to get results. And that's, for me, was what I was proud of tonight. The guys were really focused. The guys were in the correct positions that we'd spoke about, that we'd worked on. And then you saw the quality of our players. You saw the quality of Kobe Hernandez. I thought he was fantastic tonight. I thought he was one of the best players on the field. His distribution, even winning the ball back, everything Kobe did tonight was to a high level. And I think not just him, you saw a number of players kind of step up and show moments of quality that we haven't seen.
Okay, so a couple things. First off, Kobe Hernandez Foster is going to be a big show in the film portion of this. I didn't really understand what Kobe had done in that match until I watched the match again. He was a superstar in that match. It was unbelievable. But there were things they mentioned like details, and that word detail was mentioned by Famil Kavita when asked about his goal line clearance, which was a huge moment. This match could have been 1-0 Sacramento very easily. Jack Gurr gets the ball on the edge of the box and puts a nice shot into the bottom right-hand corner, bottom left-hand corner for Jack Gurr. And Famil Kavita is there to clear it off the line. And there was a moment of detail, knowing Jake Roof is going to be able to cover my guy. I can now go to the far post, cover anything that's coming this way, while still being able to cut off a potential pass to the second post. Those are details. When he said people knew their positions and all that kind of stuff, we talked to Jake Roof after the match. And Jake Roof played with 3 different right wing backs. He started off with Turnbull, then he went to Seba, and then went to Centeno. He had 3 different right backs in the span of 90 minutes. That's hard. And I asked him, like, what is the difference? Like, what did you see? Like, how did you deal with having the different player? It's not having just 2 in one match. You had 3. He said it wasn't that hard because Mark has worked with the details. We've gotten into the details. So I know at all times the right wing back is going to be in this place. I know when the right wing back is supposed to drop. The right wing backs know when they're supposed to drop. The right wing backs know when they're supposed to cover. They know when I am pushing up where they are supposed to be. He said, while each individual player has their own individual superpowers, essentially, each player has their special strengths that are really easy to show off. And like, for example, Centeno is a very capable dribbler, very, very technical on the ball. We know that Centeno can break down somebody one-on-one. Someone like a Turnbull is very accomplished defensively, a very good defender, and can put in a very nice cross. Seba, while we hadn't really seen him much a right wing back, we haven't seen him play wing back since Asheville City. You could see what he could do in terms of what he tried to do in link-up play. But even though what Seba did wasn't coming off, you could tell that he knew what he was supposed to do. So Jake Roof never felt like he was having to overcompensate or try to think through, okay, this is Tregarthen over Centeno. How do I play this guy? He knows his role. He knows the details. I just now know that when he receives the ball, what is his superpower? How do I feed off of his superpower? And that's really impressive to see. And I think that's what led to a lot of the cohesion that we had in the back line, despite Moses doesn't finish the match. AJ does not finish the match. The right wing back just changes all over the place, like I had mentioned, right? At different times, if I counted right, you had 6 different variations of a back line in this match. And yet it stayed defensively solid. And those are the details that Mark is talking about.
And then in that second striker on the field, what was the thinking?
I just felt like Enzo's going to come to feet.
Ah, okay, sorry. Let me back up just a little bit, because the question was, why did you basically take off Damas? Because Damas was, I thought, very good, and I was actually quite shocked when Damas was taken off for Enzo. And this answer is just absolutely fascinating on a lot of fronts.
Like striker on the field before.
I just felt like Enzo's going to come to feet. I asked Enzo to play like as a withdrawn forward. He's going to come to feet. I wanted to try and draw Jared Timmer out of that central area because Jared Timmer's he's the pace in that back line. So I wanted to try and draw Jared deeper and then exploit the spacing behind. But obviously, that didn't actually nearly worked. Enzo nearly got on the end of a through ball, but it's just nuances in the game that you have to be clued in. The staff were excellent tonight. We were clued in. We knew what we wanted to do. We knew how the moves we wanted to make. And we've been fortunate and got the result that we wanted.
Then in addition to this,
Yeah, so this is really interesting on a lot of fronts. Enzo's a guy that will drop in deep. He wanted to bring out Timmer, which this is why playing against your former club, against your former players is so interesting. He was like, Jared is the pace. How do I know that? Because this is my back line. That's how I know. He is the pace, so I wanted Enzo to come forward to draw him out and try to get somebody to make that run behind, like a Pasher or a Trejo, just to try to alleviate some of that space. Timmer goes up, they make a run behind, and I'm bringing this up later. In the second half, we saw a lot of just kind of balls over the top, trying just to clip them over that space. And he kind of mentions it didn't really work. He said it almost worked one time, but it didn't really work. However, Enzo coming onto the pitch meant later on, Lasso came off. And if Kobe Hernandez-Foster plays the way that he did on Wednesday versus Sacramento, I think Enzo should be his partner. I don't know if Lasso's the right guy. I don't. I think that Enzo brought a better energy, a better wherewithal. Let him be that holding midfielder. He doesn't have to be the ball mover up and down the field. Like, we kind of tried to play him as a number 10. He's not a 10. He's not even truly an 8. He is, he kind of is an 8. Like, he is a box-to-box guy, but what he's able to do is just like kind of a distributor and link-up play. You heard Mark say it himself. He's going to drop in, distribute the ball. Drop in, distribute the ball. Come to ball, distribute ball. That's perfect for being the other side of Kobe Hernandez-Foster. And, he mentioned that decision didn't work, taking off Damas. But in the end, you understand the thought process. I didn't in the moment. Now I do. Really cool to hear.
When he also does the first clean sheet of the season, how big is that for us?
That's the thing that's the most important. Keeping clean sheets is difficult, but everybody knows defenses win championships. If you can't keep clean sheets, you can't be successful. And so, yes, we won, and I'm happy with that and proud of that. But I'm super proud that we kept a clean sheet, and we got AJ Patterson back for 70 minutes tonight. Which is a huge lift, a huge boost for us as a team. Moses came back in and played 45 minutes. So we're starting to get a little bit healthier. We're starting to get people back, which is also a huge benefit for us.
I want to pause it because one of my favorite moments in this press conference is coming up. But he mentions the back line. The back line was very good. One thing I noticed, and I wasn't really able to get this on film because I was having some issues with ESPN and capturing clips. But, Sacramento was not able to break down the midfield. And that was a Trejo thing. That was a Pasher thing. And that was the wing backs. They were clogging up the middle of the pitch. So they were having to go out to the wings. Granted, their wings are very, very good with Spalding and Gurr. They are very talented on the wings. But what they were doing was Damas was pressing them one way, and when they would get pressed in one direction, they would lock them into a wing. They would pass it back to the middle of the field. Damas would push them into the opposite direction, get them locked into a wing. It was constantly Trejo and Mensah, or then Trejo and Turnbull, were locking in the Sacramento defense, it was their back line into the midfield. And then they would try to swing it out. Damas would push them over to the Legion right-hand side, the Sacramento left-hand side, where it would be a Centeno, a Seba, a Turnbull, and a Pasher. And they would cut off that space, and Hernandez Foster would kind of jump into that space. There was zero penetration of the final third, let alone the 18-yard box. That starts in the midfield. And what you were seeing and just how they were keeping them locked into shifts, not letting them get long penetrating runs into that space, the back line's going to get a lot of credit. They deserve it. Matt Van Oekel had a very nice game. He was collecting balls early. He was really being on the front foot. It was very impressive showing from him. While he didn't have a lot to do, technically I think only one save, but even so, what the midfield did just to lock them into a space and force them backward. Yes, technically Sacramento had more possession, but it was meaningless, pointless possession. Let's get into the best part of the press conference.
One of the owners is calling me, look, Rick tells you. You have to tell Rick he's called me during the media. Couldn't make it up. Yeah. I should answer it, shouldn't I?
He will definitely.
He would like it. I'm going to tell him. Hey, Rick.
Hey, man, I didn't want to bother you. Just want to say congrats, brother.
Mate, you're currently in the press conference, so I thought I sold the press conference that I had to answer the phone because it's the owner.
No, you didn't.
I am. I'm doing the press right now.
Oh, do that.
All right, mate. Call you right back.
Congrats.
Thank you.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Sorry.
What can a win like this do to kind of like galvanize a team, especially not just looking ahead to this weekend, but just kind of like the turning point of the season?
Yeah, look, I think you saw the way the guys celebrated. I actually didn't see it until I watched it back now. But you saw the way the guys were together. You saw the way the guys celebrated. To get a win like that in the last minute, it can change a lot. And I think you saw emotions of everybody release, and that's why the sport's the best sport in the world, because it gives you those feelings, it gives you those emotions.
Rick Tozzi, one of the owners, like one of the Legion investors, calling just to be like, congrats on this in the middle of the interview. I mean, that's good stuff. On top of this, Outland James Outland was out with the Magic City Brigade before the match and was like tailgating with the fans and like had a couple or one or two beers with the supporters and just talked to them. And those are things that mean something. The owner calling in, just being like, congrats, I'm proud of you. I'm sure Mark Briggs has to talk to the owners after every game and explain why we won, why we lost, why we drew, what needs to be changed, what needs to make your life better. Here's what we see that you need to change. But having a guy just be that energetic and say, congrats, man, I'm proud of you, that's awesome. And that feeds into what you saw with the players. Jake Roof mentioned in the celebration, somehow Damas got in the middle of it. A really kind of funny thing that happened when I went and I shot the video. I was very happy with how it turned out. I see Damas come flying in. I'm like, I thought he was off the pitch. And then he's just on the field and celebrating. Everybody's having a good time. And he's trying to find a way out. And he's just kind of looking all over the place. And I was like, Ronaldo, come here. And I like moved the ad board so it could come off. And as he's walking off, trying to exit the pitch, the ref comes over and gives him a yellow card because he left the bench to celebrate. I was like, what is going on? But that shows how much it meant. Damas, who didn't score, he's a striker that didn't score. He has every reason to be pouty and whiny and say, I suck, I hate everything, right? He ran on to the pitch and jumped on top of the pile of, not like pile, but like the crowd of people, because that's how much it meant. That's how much of a win meant. That he was willing to get a yellow card to celebrate with his team. And I'm not calling out any of the rest of the players. They probably did what they were supposed to do. Something tells me they're going to have a conversation with Ronaldo and just be like, don't get stupid yellow cards, right? You know, the players on the bench just celebrate as they were supposed to. But, like, that's what it means. That relief to win at home and won since El Paso. That's so big. And I just think that in general, you see a lot of growth in this team, and that's why I'm excited for this Saturday versus the Oakland Roots. This team still has potential to be special. I said last week that I think 7 points to our next 6 matches is important. If that excitement level and that amount of relief of a Legion team comes through, like, and this team could get more than 7 points through 6 matches. They can knock off some big teams. I'm very impressed with what I saw.
Got a few more. In the second half, we saw a lot more of those kind of attempted clipping the ball over the top, trying to go a little bit over their midfield.
Yeah.
Was that a decision that you guys made during halftime, or was that something the players were seeing on the field?
No, we wanted to kind of draw their midfield players out we wanted to try and find the pockets in between their lines, and that's why you saw Kobe pulling a little bit deeper and wider to get on the ball. You saw Edwin pulling a little bit deeper and wider to get on the ball, and we're trying to get in between lines, which I think we did a good job of. And you know, just that final detail, that final pass didn't quite work out at times. But we wanted to, like I say, that was the reason for the Enzo sub, to try and pull their centre back out and expose that space in the middle, because I felt like Seba or Tyler at that point could break that line with their pace.
Is that because I noticed that when you were kind of talking to Tyler on the sideline, you were telling him to make that, you know, underlapping run, that inverted run. Is that still, again, to find that pocket of space?
Yeah, look, sometimes it's about moving to create space for somebody else. You know, sometimes you have to make a run and you might not get the ball, but your movements, they have to adjust to that movement, and then it opens up a secondary space. So we have to get used to those movements and understand how effective they can be. But we just got to keep doing them and keep learning, keep growing, keep teaching, and the guys are fantastic tonight.
And first off, I know there's a couple of parents of soccer players who listen to this podcast. I want you to just go to this part of the interview and just listen to Mark Briggs say, you make a run to create space. You may not receive the ball, but you are helping the team. Your kid's coach tells your kid the same thing. If it's working at the professional level, and that's how you become a pro, is by making runs to create space for somebody else, let them listen to that. It's not just your high school, your club coach saying it. It's a professional soccer coach, one of the best in the country. So just thought I'd just throw that little in there.
It felt like there was a couple of times where Birmingham was really exploiting the wings. Was there any kind of thought to switching Trejo and Patrick to try to get some crosses into Damas, or did you?
No, none at all. None at all. I liked what they were doing. I think if you go back and watch the game, the movement of Nani, especially in the first half when Kobe got the ball in kind of that right side, like half space, Danny's movement in behind their centre-back, we got in quite a few times, and now we didn't just have that final ball or that final effort at goal, you know. And then even when Kobe puts Ronaldo through, it's a fantastic pass, but Danny's movement to create the space, and then Kobe slips the ball to Ronaldo, and Ronaldo should score, you know. But no, the front three are starting to work as a unit, not as individuals, which is really impactful.
Okay, so there were several moments, and there was one that got onto the YouTube highlight page. However, I think that Kobe actually had a better moment, Kobe and Trejo. And I don't have a video of this, so you're just going to have to just imagine it with me, where Kobe, I think, wins the ball in the midfield, kind of looks his head up, and Trejo makes one of the just kind of a run along the front of the back line and then just kind of plays through and perfectly beats the offside trap. I mean, the back line had no idea Trejo was making the run in between into that half space, but they were on the same page. Kobe got the pass just a little bit wrong. I would say maybe he put like a yard too much air underneath it. So just a little bit too much lift or a little bit too much power. Wasn't quite able to collect it. Like when we say just a little bit, I mean the space between my hands is how much he missed the ball by. It's barely anything. And those were the moments that he's talking about. It was very impressive. I think that ball that I'm talking about happened around the 20th-ish minute mark. So if you want to find that, it's there. But that, especially that first half, that relationship between Trejo and Kobe was really good. So I do like what he said there. I mean, for me, I was thinking like there's not a whole lot of chances coming into the box. We're not creating a lot of chances for Damas. But I mean, he mentions it like they did so many good things with Pastor, Damas, and Trejo, where they are starting to act like a unit. I mentioned it earlier with the way they would press and lock Sacramento into the wings. That's a part of this unit part where they're all just starting to act like a unit and not individuals. Really impressive stuff.
Last one for me. Oh, sorry.
And then just on Paschal, so obviously 2 of the 3 players involved in the final counter-attack were subs. What would Paschal played the full 90 minutes and still made it all the way up the field, and then is still like making the right decision with that Paschal. How impressed were you with him in that one?
Listen, Tyler's an exceptional talent. He's a top player. I didn't think he was his best game tonight, but you keep like players like Tyler in the game because of moments like that. You know, he has that little bit of composure right at the end of the game to play the perfect ball across the box, and Seba puts it in. You know what I mean? And that's why you keep players like Tyler on the field. I let him go to a wedding this weekend. That's why he wasn't in Louisville, so he's just repaid me.
So one player that was not around tonight was Finn Callaway. He's obviously moving on, going to college. What have you seen from him being a high schooler, getting ready to go to the university level?
Yeah, look, he's a talent. He's been around the group and he's been at the club a while, you know. He's trained with the group. The guy said goodbye to him yesterday and wished him all the best. We'll keep tabs on him. Hope he continues to develop, and you never know, he might come back at some point and put on the Legion jersey again, but as a fully fledged professional. So we wish him all the best. We'll be monitoring him, and you never know what the future holds.
And that was the press conference, and it was a fun one. I mean, the owner calling in the middle of it was classic. There was a lot of fun tactical stuff in there too. I always love hearing the background of Pasher not being there for a wedding, which is just a reminder that these guys are humans who have friends, who have family, who want to be a part of their friends and family's lives. It's just like you taking a little bit of PTO to go visit your friends for a wedding. I know it's a little bit different, but also not really. It's still a job at the end of the day. Very, very fun stuff. The atmosphere in the press room was really good. Lots of fun to be had. Lots of just laughs before and afterward. It was just good vibes. And if you're someone who's been holding off on going to matches because the team's bad or whatever, I beg you to go, because it's getting like the atmosphere around the club is great right